we're gonna get started. I'll do a quick intro. We're a little behind schedule, so we'll fly through the beginning. Again, everything is on the course afterwards as well. So, you know, hypothetically, we started at 9:30, 9:40. We have a little bit of transition period here at 10 o'clock until we go downstairs for the advanced workshop. So we'll be doing the beginner workshop right now. Raise your hand out of the who were admitted, who still has issues getting either on the course website. Anyone? Okay, you. Talk to Mark, he's the expert. Anyone have issues getting the API credits who again was admitted on you? Would you be able to help him back there how to get it? Thank you. Okay. So super quick introduction. My name is Adam Burgh. I'm one of the ambassadors here in Seattle for Claude. I created the organization We Build with AI about a year and a half ago. And the mission is to empower everyone to build with AI, regardless of technical background and experience. I have done over 50 events, probably in an end of tech week. This probably bumps up to like 4,000 in terms of like people that come to events. I did one on Wednesday as well. And so I run like AI workshops to help you like build your own app. And also I do lightning hackathons. Like when I started doing AI hackathons 3 years ago, it used to definitely take 2 days to get a prototype up and running so that you could actually have it judged. Now, literally like hackathons are like 90 minutes and you can get something. So we'll see. We're gonna make a very simple app in about 20 minutes or so, right? So it's just a taste, but it will give you like it'll empower you to be able to use Claude Code in the desktop app, which I recommend if you have a paid account, or in the terminal as well, whether you have Mac or Windows. I also do internal hackathons and trainings and consulting for companies as well. Especially with the launch of co-work with Claude, it's been a lot of interest from GTM, marketing teams, finance teams, and how to create AI workflows and become more efficient. You can see some of the people that have come through my workshops, as well as some of the clients that I've worked with. My background, so I don't have a technical background, although I worked in enough early stage startups that I had to learn enough like HTML, JavaScript, Python, etc., in order to launch some features. But my experience has mainly been in product management and growth strategy. I've worked at early stage startups. I've worked at like hyper growth startups like Uber, and then I worked at Amazon and AWS in their product management teams. Right now, besides doing this, I'm also involved with AI Tinkerers and AI House, as well as the Harvard Business School Alumni Club here in Seattle. Okay, so everyone should have access to this course website now. So we'll go through super quickly the README. I'll just talk through the API credits, but again, everyone here has redeemed it, and the people that are on the webinar. So I think we have about 150 people or so that signed up for the webinar as well. They won't have access to those, so I won't go through it. We are like the only thing to call out is that you need to have a Claude console account. And with that, you will either be able to use you can use the terminal if you have a paid account as well, but I, again, suggest you use the Claude Code desktop app. And if you don't have a paid account, then you can use the terminal using your API credits. Okay. So first part is how to set up access. And again, if you have the desktop app, it is very easy. I was really happy when Anthropic put Claude Code in the desktop app because it eliminated a bunch of steps and a bunch of anxiety of people who've never used a terminal starting to use it, right? Because it looks like it's from the 80s, because it is. Like there really needs to be a better UI for like coding, like for sure. And some other companies have created it, but obviously the flexibility and the familiarity of developers with terminal is what's kind of driving adoption right now, right? So, again, pretty easy. Download it. Let's see. And I'll just show super quickly my app, right? Like you need to click on code, go to local. We wouldn't have set up cloud yet. That's for a different day. And then add a folder and follow the instructions there. So again, pretty simple. We're just, suggestion on where to put the folder and what to call it. Okay. So, and that's it, right? As soon as you create the folder and say you're going to code locally, you are done with setup. Now, the next like 10 minutes, I'm going to go through how to use the terminal. So if you want to follow along just to see how to set up your terminal, even though you have a paid account, feel free to do that. If you don't have a paid account, this is the only way that you're going to be able to access Claude Code right now. Okay, so I'm going to do it on Mac because I have a Mac. But here is the Windows terminal instructions as well. It's pretty much similar. So, first, command space, search, open up terminal. Okay. And so you can see here, like basically just to install Claude Code, you just copy this. Actually gonna do this parallel. And you paste it in, and like I've already installed this, so I won't go through it, but you'll basically be waiting for a little bit. You'll get the prompt that it'll be installing Claude Code. And then once it's done, you'll get a nice little green text that says Claude Code successfully installed. How many people have got to that step so far? How many people are still waiting for it to approve? Okay. How many people are already lost? It's totally fine. Yeah. The what? Yeah, I think that's a problem. Brendan, have you ever used an iPad with his iPad terminal? I don't think so. Yeah, you need a computer. I think they just launched the Claude Code or the Claude app for iPad. So if you have a paid account, you can do that. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, again, you can follow these instructions at home with a computer. Yeah. All right. So then once you have it successfully installed, close the terminal. That kind of resets the session. And then you can copy this. And so I can do this because I already have it installed. And I'm just going to check what version it has. All right. And I'm on a little bit later model. But you all should have the most recent version. And then what we're going to do is use this to basically create a folder called CCSTW26, which is going to be our project folder. Within documents, like I just say documents, I mean, personally, I create a developer folder in like my root directory. So I have one space and it doesn't get confused with documents and with other things that Claude's doing. But again, this is probably the easier way to get started. But you can use different locations in the future. So all you do is paste that, and it created that folder, and you are now working in that folder. So if you actually go to your documents, like use your Finder or whatever it is on Windows, you go there and you go into documents, there should now be a folder called CCSTW26. And this is the Windows terminal. And so the next part, so now you're basically set up to start creating a project. Now the next step is you're still in terminal and you're not connected to Claude at all, right? This is just non-AI like code to create a folder, right? And get access to Claude. So what you need to do next is type Claude into your terminal. Okay. And then you'll probably get this, and it just says, do you want me to code and, modify things in this folder? So just click yes. And so now you're at the login screen for Claude. You can type login, and you have a couple options, right? If you have a pro account, I would suggest doing that. It'll open a browser tab, and you just enter your email. It'll probably, I think it sends you an email to confirm. You have to click a link, and then you'll have access. If you don't have a paid account, just select option 2, and it will log you into your console account on Claude. And we're not going to cover option 3 today. Okay, so I had already logged in, so it's just asking for authorization. It wants me to sign in again. Okay, so now you can see, and since I have a max plan, I can use Fable. But if you have API credits, you can enable using your API credits for Fable, even if you have a free plan or a pro plan. Okay, so now we're logged into Claude. We can actually, use it and press enter to continue. All right, so now we're gonna copy and paste this just to understand, because right now this is the downside of the terminal. It doesn't give you a lot of information, right? If you're in the Claude Code app, you would already see what model you're using, what effort level. You would get to switch it and in the drop-down menu right here, right? Like I can say I want to use Fable 5, I want to use high, like that's, you can do all that. But in the terminal, you have to ask it this question, and it'll give you a pretty detailed explanation of how you can modify a model and effort level within the terminal. And so this is calling the API. This is answering questions based on the LLM's knowledge base specific to Claude. And so you can go through this later. I'm not going to review it specifically, but if for some reason it asks you for different permissions to even do that, like again, I have already done this process on my terminal, but just click yes. You can even like basically say always allow, because all it is doing is reading information from your computer. It's not necessarily writing anything. So you'll get this explanation on how to use it, and there you go. You all. Yep. Okay. Brendan, would you be able to help him? Okay, you can talk to him. All right. So if you have any issues with getting to this step, come over here and talk to Brendan. He'll help you out. We will go super quickly through this example project. So I just gave a quick summary of the current models. This will probably be out of date next week. So just ask Claude what the current version is, right? What I would suggest today is to use Sonnet or Opus. Hey guys. if you have any questions, like come over here to get them answered. So I recommend using Sonnet or Opus. Honestly, I would use Opus if you have a paid account or if you use the API credits. I don't know. I mean, again, it's a pretty simple project, so it doesn't really matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to copy this prompt, put it in here. And so I'm going to say model. And yep, I'm already on Opus, so I'm going to do that. Just copy it in. And then the project is about your Seattle Tech Week journey. So open your Luma calendar. You can see all the events you've gone to. Just Command A, Command C. Remove this section here and paste it in. Luma text here. I copied that. Okay, so you won't see all the text, right? It'll just say that it pasted like 188 lines or something like that. And press enter. Now Claude is actually coding something and putting that in the file folder that we created. If you look through the prompts, it's pretty simple because I don't want to have you all install like Node.js, although there is instructions how to do that at the end because it just takes time and we don't have that much time. But it's only using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, so fairly basic, but enough that you can create an application and view it in your browser. All right, so it's still working, and you can tell when it's working because it just has these made up words and tells you when it's thinking, etc. Again, it doesn't tell you a lot more. There are ways that you can see exactly what it's doing, the process is going through, but for like right now, again, hopefully this finishes like fairly quickly. It's been working for about a minute right now, and it's done. All right, so it's asking me. I have a bunch of skills installed, so I'm just going to not use these skills. So it's more similar to what you all will develop without having skills installed. All right, and it worked for 1 minute and 11 seconds. And you have like the first version of your code base and your project. So the next step, in order to actually view it in your browser, some people may have already gotten a link to open an index file. So that can happen sometimes. It happened when I tested it last night. It didn't happen today. So I'm going to say, just input this and say, start a local web server for me to view my project. Okay, and again, it's asking me if I want to proceed. It's Python. I will say I'm just going to accept it, but you can always say don't ask me any time again. Another thing to accept, again, at this point, don't really be concerned with what you're accepting because we're not doing anything dangerous, but afterwards, definitely go through and review permissions and decide which ones you always want to accept versus want to ask you every time. Okay, so now it said that it's currently displaying here. So if you copy that and you open up, oops, take that off. And you open it up in your browser. No, keeps telling me that. All right. So I probably have a different session on localhost, so that's not working. But what you can always do is you can go to index.html. So if we go to my documents folder, go in here. All right, it's not. All right, I think I put it in a different folder when I reset. How many people were able to visualize their website? Yep. Yeah. Keep your hands raised. All right. So other people were not. Okay. All right, you can try like searching for index.html, for instance, and see if you can find that if it went in a different folder. Okay, so since I wasn't able to find it, I'm just going to ask Claude Code. Confirm that you actually created the index.html file and tell me what file folder you put it in. Execute the prompt that I gave you earlier and create the index.html file. Okay, so this is what I always like advice when you don't understand what's going on is ask Claude questions and give it direction and try to figure out like what it did. So what it said to me was that for some reason it didn't actually build an index.html file, right? So I asked it where it located it, and it said it didn't build it. And so it asked and then said, like, do you want me to build it now? And so I said, yes, let's build it now. All right, so while we're waiting for that, once you have, like for the people who already have their initial version, you can keep chatting with Claude, right? So basically, here are just some examples, but you can personalize it to your own taste. And then afterwards, since again, this is fairly simple, it's just creating an HTML file. All you have to do is refresh your browser, and you'll be able to see the updated version. Okay, so now it says it built it for me. And so I should have an index file. There it is. Okay, so again, for some reason, it just didn't build it. I don't know. It built it last night when I did the exact same thing. And this is my example, right? These are the events that I went to. If I attended, I think it also, yeah, last night it had the events that I actually hosted. This time it didn't. Again, I mean, you've probably heard LLMs are non-deterministic. It means like if you say A, you'll get some version of B. Whereas before we used Claude and we created the file folders with just actual code syntax. So you put in A and you will always get B if you put in that same code. But okay, so that is like creating your first app with Claude Code. To use more complex frameworks and languages, you have to install other packages. And so the biggest one, like the most common framework right now that's used by most agentic coding tools is they will code in React. And so to do that, you need to install Node.js, which can take like 10 minutes, I think, to like download and install, right? Which is why we didn't do it in this workshop. But here are your instructions in order to do that on your own at home. Or again, we're going to go downstairs and we'll go into the advanced workshop. So like, if you want to bring it, I mean, we don't have desks down there, it's just chairs. But if you want to bring your laptop down and run this while we get set up, you can do that as well. And then, you know, these are the three topics that we'll cover in the advanced workshop. Okay. All right. So 25 minutes from not having anything installed to having hopefully your first working app in Claude Code. So again, very abbreviated given the timeline we have and trying to fit in 2 different workshops. But I hope you all enjoyed it and look forward to hearing your feedback. It's at the end of the course page. So take time to fill that out as well for the beginner workshop. And I'm gonna move downstairs and get ready for the advanced workshop. Feel free to like stay up here, finish your projects, and we'll get started downstairs at 10:15. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I know you had an appointment, but have you plugged into this before? Okay. If it's
stream? Yep. All right. Hi, welcome live stream. We haven't really covered anything. It was just introductions that you already saw in the beginner portion. Okay, so if you are here in person, come get this, right? This has the link to the course website as well as the code, the access code to redeem your API credits. We have a certain number of API credits, so let us know if they get exhausted, but hopefully not. I tried to plan it like show up rates, etc., so that everyone here could get one who was admitted, not on the wait list. Unfortunately, on the live stream, you'll have to buy your credits. But this is the way to do it. Just follow the instructions. Again, make sure that you have a Claude console account. Do not log in with your Claude.ai account, or you will get put in a fraud sequence and you won't be able to redeem it. So giving you a warning. All right. And you can, redeem these credits today. I think, again, until they run out, there's a few days that you can redeem. Here is the beginner workshop that we just went through upstairs. So you don't have to go through that right now. But we are going to go through the advanced section. So to start with, we're going to have Ron talk about best practices for creating and maintaining skills. Okay. Okay, great.
Hey everybody, I'm Ron Theis. I'm a founding engineer at Golden Analytics, a startup over in Bellevue. The bulk of this is set up in a GitHub repo. It's got way more details there too. You go to github.com/Ronzilla. It'll be the pinned repo at the top. It's got more info, and it's way better than this presentation. So what I want to talk about is how to create, improve, and run Claude skills. So what's a skill? At its core, it's just a markdown file. So it's a text file with some text formatting around it. It tells Claude how to do a particular job. The description of that skill is extremely important because the description is all Claude gets to know whether it should run your skill. So if you have a very brief one-word description that's just like stuff, Claude won't know when to trigger your skill and to go ahead and run it. Where it lives determines who gets it. So you can have them living in, we have this top space here in your repos.claude directory. It means the whole team can have access to the skill. If it's in your own personal.claude directory, only you have access to it. They're similar to commands. Commands can only live in a single markdown file. A skill it lives in a directory, and it's got this overall markdown file dictating what happens. But because it's in a directory, you can include extra context. So you've got a CSV format you want it to conform to, or a JSON file or something like that. You can attach that as part of the skill. A side note, this is different from your Claude.md. So your Claude.md tells Claude the rules of your repo that it couldn't find out by just reading code. So any of your customs, microphone, all right. So if you have any customs in your code base that wouldn't be obvious by reading the code, you can include that in your Claude.md file to give it extra instructions, make sure it conforms to the patterns that you and your team are using. The challenge is this is a markdown file, and people don't always remember to update it as they submit their PRs. So ideally, the markdown file would be up to date with all the changes that come into your code base. So we're going to make a skill to tackle that. So when you're building a skill, you can use Claude to make the skill. You can hand edit it if you want, but it's way easier to have Claude do it. And the 4 key components are the core job in one sentence, the steps that you want it to follow, basically in the order that you do them yourself, the guardrails. So this is the definitely don't do X, Y, and Z, and then what you want the output to look like. And so this, literally a prompt to make a skill is write me a skill called Claude on Claude. Every week, compare what's merged against what our Claude.md files say, propose edits, where the docs don't match the code. And please don't edit, commit, or push without my approval, because I'm not sure if you're going to do a good job. That's totally reasonable. Okay, so let's see what that looks like in practice. This means, like literally what I just said, that is what you're going to slap into Claude and have it go to town. It will go ahead and start creating your skill. While it's running, I want to mention I'm using a program called CMux. I'm on a Mac. It's a way to have multiple terminals and organize them in one place. So I can have multiple terminals that are related to a certain workspace or a certain job that I'm doing. I can have them going at the same time. Allow me to recommend you look for a solution that lets you do something like that. Conductor, work.dev are similar sort of things that will let you have multiple sessions going at a time. Okay. While it's creating the skill, I'm going to show you an example of the output when it's done. So I made a version of this earlier, and when I ran /Claude on Claude, it went through and took a look at the directory, and it found 4 PRs, and then started proposing edits to the Claude.md file that we've got in the repo, because the code has changed things. The Claude.md file used to say all the logic lives in this one file, but now we've broken it out into 2 different files. Claude should know that the next time it goes to work on your code base. It's got a handful of suggestions. It will also show you what it considered but rejected and decided not to put in your Claude.md file, and then says, hey, human, I would like you to use your own judgment here as to whether this belongs in the file. Here we go. Claude's asking questions. What scope should the current repo only? Yes. How should it handle the proposed changes? Written report plus inline tips. That sounds good. Just the skill? Oh yeah, I'll schedule it. Yep. And then what sort of gap types? Oh, I want all these. These sound great. Yes. Okay. And then go. Great. So we'll get Claude tackling that. Once you've got your skill running, you want to iterate on it. You'll probably not get it right the first time, or Claude will not get it right the first time. And the key phrase that I found works great: what did this run teach you that isn't written down in the skill yet? Propose some edits. Claude will come up with some stuff that you did not realize, and it will be things that might have been behind the scenes, like, oh, I tried API A and it failed, and I wasted 3 minutes trying API A, so I tried API B again, and that B worked much better. Okay, let's put that in the skill so we don't waste that the next time. If you've got improvements that you noticed, you should 100%. Hey, let's add these back into the skill. The first few times you use the skill, you probably want to run this after every single time, and it'll get better and faster and closer to what you want in the end. All right, let's see how the skill is doing. Oh, do I want to create? Yes. Great. So it wrote lines for our skill. So we've got it. This will wind up being a markdown file. And this is the core of it. It's Claude on Claude. Here's the description that Claude will use to determine whether it wants to run the skill. It describes kind of the purpose, put some constraints on it. Step 1, gather what merged, which is what we put in our steps. Step 2, read every Claude.md. This is what we described. We didn't describe, oh, I want to run find./name. Step 3, find the gaps in it, and these are the instructions that Claude thinks will work. Step 4, filter things out. Step 5, write the report and summarize it. And that's kind of the gist of it. And now I can, if I see something here that I don't like, I can go ahead and edit it. I can ask Claude to edit it. But it has made that skill. For running it, so this is the sort of thing that you might want to run automatically, like every week, for example. There are a number of different options depending on whether you want to be present or not. /schedule is great if you want it to happen kind of like on a cron job basis. /loop is if you're around. I will say Anthropic has really good web page describing the different options for running things on a schedule, because the rules are different based on whether if you're in the cloud, you have access to certain things versus if you're on desktop. All right, 9 skills we use. These are ones we actually use every day, and I'm going to rip through them. I hope one of them gives you an idea. So pre-flight, this is super basic. This is all the stuff that you have to run before you check in. So lint, the type checking, the tests. I just want to run that, and then I want you to fix it if anything is broken. And so this is run it, fix it, unless, and here's the order. If anything's bigger than a few lines, stop and ask me, but otherwise, like, do it and give me a report. This is super helpful, and other Claude skills will use this same skill later. I just pulled. Every time we pull, we have to run npm install and then sync the environment variables and make sure the database migrations are up to date, and all this stuff. And I just want the robot to do that. So follow the steps in the readme.md in our repo, bring the local database up, check for any stale development servers I had hanging around, tell me if I need to kill or restart everything. Basically, just get everything ready to go, because I don't want to have to do this, the steps that are in the README by hand every time. All right, rebasing onto main. So you've got some branch you want to rebase onto origin main and deal with merge conflicts automatically, because those can be super painful. So, make sure the branch is ready. Capture, tag the pre-rebase state. Go ahead and rebase, resolve the conflicts, because I don't want to have to deal with the merge. And Claude has no problem patiently looking at every single PR that has happened to figure out where the merge conflict was and what the intent was of the original PR creator. Verify the diff is preserved. There might be some drift based on how it had to resolve conflicts, but basically double check, make sure it's okay. Run the skill we created earlier, I just pulled, and then run the pre-flight stuff. So now I'm ready to go with my branch rebased onto main. Babysit PR is for when, especially if you've got an automated PR code review tool that's going to run and give you feedback. And it's usually feedback that's very mechanical. So, hey, make sure the type is a certain way, things like that. We use CodeRabbit, for example, and those are fairly mechanical suggestions that it makes. I don't want to have to go through those by hand. I'm usually going to go along with what CodeRabbit thinks is reasonable. So given a GitHub PR URL, find the local worktree I have for it, and hang out and watch every 15 minutes, check. And if a robot has made comments, make the fixes needed unless they're complex or involve product decisions. And I can literally, when creating a skill, you can use text like this and Claude will take advantage of it and be pretty reasonable about complex or product decisions. Check to see if the PR is green. Add the human approvers that I wanted you to add. Keep watching if I want to watch for new comments from robots or humans, and give me a summary at the end. All right, claim my issues. So this is the perennial, hey, everybody, we have a bunch of unassigned bugs. Get some bugs from the unassigned list and assign them to yourself. Okay, I don't have to look through the huge list. So instead, look at the PRs that I've built. Now, I will say this requires integration with our bug tracking system. In our case, it's linear. Yours might be Jira or some other setup using an MCP. So an MCP server is a way for Claude to contact an external service that could offer both read and write capabilities. So I'm saying from my PRs using Git, build a profile of what I've shipped, pull all of the unassigned bugs, ask me what I'd like to work on. That might be different from the PRs that I've had to do in the last few weeks or month. Score every candidate unassigned bug against my profile and what I'd like, and then show me a tiered list of bugs that I should consider assigning to myself. Dual thermal review. This involved giving Claude and Codex, having both of them do code reviews, and then having a judge gather the reviews that they did, determine which issues they raised are worth commenting on, and raising them with the user. This was super successful. Once I got this running enough, I would just paste the output into comments on PRs. The team liked it well enough that now we have this running in CI, where it has, in fact, I slapped on, I think Gemini also participates too. All three things, do a code review, and then we have a judge deciding which issues are actually worth raising. If I'm running it locally, I want to fix the obvious issues and then, ask me about the complex ones. I will say the Cursor team released their thermonuclear quality code review skill. This is on their public GitHub repo. It's pretty good. It is worth grabbing and grabbing ideas from it, maybe adding extra stuff if you're interested. But that's kind of the core that we use for these code reviews. Replay audit. This is if you've got an event tracker. It's like post hog and coordinated with your bug tracker, your server logs. Then you can say, look at all the user sessions and any log anomalies, group the data into users and incidents that they encountered, write them up to our internal info. So this might be Notion or an internal wiki or comment.io or something. Look up and see if any of these things are existing bugs and then propose additional bugs to file and or comments on existing bugs. This has worked great. This has serviced all sorts of customer-facing issues that we have. Now, if you have 100,000 users visiting every week, perhaps this isn't reasonable. Maybe you need to go from the other way and say, start with the errors and work backwards. But this has been a huge help. Fix bug. I was super skeptical that this would work. It totally does. Given a bug number, ask me if I have any additional context, check out our code, fix the bug, or implement the feature, start a server, and use Chrome to test it. By the way, Claude in Chrome was kind of not that great a few months ago. It's pretty good now. And when it tests, it does a pretty good job. And it will find stuff that I would not have found. It's worthwhile. Create unit or E2E tests, generate some concise PR notes, and then push and create a PR. This actually works, does a pretty good job most of the time. If anything, I have more issues with its PR notes than I do the code itself. And then the last up is creating a what's new movie. So this is your code history. You'd like a movie of everything that changed in the last week. And so gather the PRs, come up with a list of features, create the movie script, record a movie for each feature, generate the narration with 11 labs, and then stitch it all together. This won't be 100%, but it's like 70 or 80%. It's pretty good. And because you're using 11 labs, if you want like a drunken wizard to narrate your features, you can totally do that. All right, that is it for me. There are templates on the GitHub repo if you want to take a look. I hope this was useful. Thanks.
Thank you. And anything on for hiring for building analytics? Yeah.
We're totally hiring, and we don't use lead code or hacker. So.
Awesome. All right. Next, we have Marisa to talk about how you can create press releases with Miro in your code base.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to get started by talking a little bit about what we're going to review today. This is specifically Claude Code plus Miro. So I'm going over the MCP REST and API use. So just really briefly, I'm founder and CTO of VERE. And really today, I want to create this to give you insight onto how to create press, style guide, branding sheets. I come from art and technology, and I'm a solar founder that just shipped last month. So this is very recent. So while it was top of mind, I wanted to make sure to explain the workflow to others. So really what this is doing is using Claude Code as an orchestrator to drive Miro as the MCP or REST API canvas. And I create a whole entire launch messaging system based on boundaries that I delineate to Claude Code. It goes through a single pass. It puts everything out. I essentially can open it and look at 30 to 50 different documents at a time. And what this helps with is not only press socials, but also one source of truth for when you're going to update pitch decks and messaging. So the concept here really is three core things: create, publish, and land. So you want to write a file as one surface, then you drive it to the canvas as another, and then the key is holding the arrangement. So I think of it as orchestrating. So that single source of truth is kind of like the conductor. So here are the key elements. So you have the local launch content. So you create that and you really drive Claude to delineate in the verbiage that you want to use. So this needs to be on Rails to your brand identity that you've established. Then deploying is the plumbing to get it there. So that's more technical, as you'll see. And then Canvas is the visual system aggregate that will step through the outcomes later that combines everything at a glance. So I'm going to go through 3 slides really quick, and then I'm going to switch to a video that we can look at just to avoid latency issues with streaming. So for create, we're going to watch the source come in and out, and it's going to read the source and write it to self-contained. For publish, there's a command and a URL back from local to Miro. And then it's going to land, and you can watch it in real-time deploy itself. So I'll go ahead and just start midstream right here. So on the left, you can see that I actually had already built out a website. So this is actually a website I recently launched this week called Department of Connections. It's an aggregate of knowledge-based data. So what I'm asking it to do is actually take all of the informational style data from that site and put it into the Miro itself, because it already used it for the creation of the different focus areas, but I wanted to have a style guide. So if a UX designer, a UI designer comes in, they also understand. So it took those instructions, and you can see as I'm zooming in under section 10, it's auto aggregating everything from that CSS and surfacing it so the design team can see and understand at a glance what's there. So this helps with XDev or internal people as well. But it pulled automatically the colors, the typography, and all of this is through the Miro REST API. And then the other thing that actually is really useful is having it create social stubs. So it's rolled out a bunch of Instagram 1-to-1 ratios for placeholders that you can then comp in. So I have instructions that are also requesting for it to fill out more Instagrams based on a whole entire user story flow that I created earlier. So I'm saying to allow this to come into play and to fill out basically the news stories for social that were completed. So these panels are going to start to aggregate as it comes through. So as you saw, I went back, it had the command. I do have it set up to allow for every time. I don't prefer automation. I like reading scripts as I go. It's just kind of a technical preference for me, but you can't save time if you're more comfortable or if you're doing things a lot on repeat. So as that allow happens, then it'll aggregate out. And you can see in real time it's deploying across the screen. So really, I have done this for 2 separate launches now. It expedites a lot. You can then select and export, and I take it to social media calendars like Sprout Social or other aggregates to auto schedule, and it cuts down the time by about 85%. And this is all using the Miro 14-day trial you can get. The other thing that I would also encourage is there is a great startup program with Miro, and you can get free credits. So if you apply to that, they will respond to your specific company as well. So I'll go ahead and also show you some of the results a little bit larger, what that looks like. So if you can see these. So as you can see here, it has a lot of different things. It created a whole entire index, fact sheet, timelines. I have embargoes. It creates the press release embargo. It creates all the founder stories based off of things that I've given it, and I tell it not to invent because obviously that can be a thing. However, like it also creates the distribution guidelines, outreach trackers, so you have placeholders that you can replace with your aggregate information. So in terms of connecting, I want to make sure to also show the Miro connector just so you have an at a glance. I did include a pretty comprehensive, more technical guide with link outs too. And so you can kind of see what that looks like. But here at the bottom, I have the flyout to manage connectors. There's the Miro for web. In this instance, it is connected. You can disconnect top right. Down below, you can notice I have it set to needs approval. You can green flag all of it, or if you're more secure and wanting to block certain things, you can select and curate like I've done. Okay, so I will go ahead and head back to the slide deck. So I do want to keep in mind the Miro MCP connector is actually an active beta. So it came out in February and the team is constantly doing updates and developments. So keep an eye on their blog because they release some really exciting things. The other thing is like they will reach out to you, or if you have feedback, you can reach out to them. They're very communicative. I do not work with them directly. I just have had this personal experience. The process will change over time. So sometimes you'll open it a week later and you'll be like, oh, this is different. And it's improved, kind of like the Chrome behavior that was mentioned earlier. And so, you know, it's not about knowing the steps, it's knowing where to look and modify, although you do have the steps for current. So there can be MCP errors on requests. Actually, the previous speaker having the just pushed was a great suggestion because that actually happens with this process as well. So I'd encourage you to use that under this umbrella too. And here are the two paths. So you can see that there are, technically you can write some your MCP, but the stability is a little different. If you're wanting a longer term setup like the 30 documents, I might also consider the REST API. That's a little bit stable comparatively just based on time it's been deployed. So there is a step-by-step guide, and I believe that was also in the documentation that was given. These are the two things that was built for. So VERE launch, that was a multi-year project, and so that was built through with MCP and the Department of Connections. I built it with Miro REST API, and I connected the CSS styling. And so those are two different projects. Two different processes. They worked amazingly the same at the end result, but it just gives you an idea about how flexible the pipeline is, so you can also choose your own preference of working. And then here's LinkedIn if you would like to connect, and then I will go ahead and take you through a couple of these with the time we have left. So this is the Department of Connections site. So basically, it aggregates a lot of different types of knowledge under one umbrella. So you click and it pulls up all the similar knowledge sets. The reason I'm showing you this is because I created a concepts log. That concepts log has all of the ideas, all the aggregate information. This technically is for artificial intelligence-based search optimization purposes. And also what it serves as is the whole entire data set platform for the press kit to put into Miro. So this cloud took all of this, took it word by word, said, I have this information now. I'm going to reorganize it in a way that fits social media, that doesn't modify your core premise, run it through the Miro MCP and output the social cues. So hopefully that gives you an idea. And here's the more final, fuller board of this demo run. Once you get used to this process, it can run through in under a couple hours. Then you go through and really the time cost is sourcing, making sure the spacing is right, and also verifying that the information is what you want it to say for real time. The other thing that I would say is in this process, when you start back up, if you had a stale day, I would make sure that you refresh everything. Sometimes also if Miro is aggregating data, I ran into this earlier today, you might have to hard refresh for it to get back, but you can still see it right in real time. You just want to do that refresh to make sure you have everything. So hopefully this gives you a different approach and workflow of actually backwards constructing social and having 2 lanes to choose from with the Miro MCP and the REST API along with Claude Code. Thank you so much.
It's amazing. Yeah. And yeah, we'd love to learn. I think everyone should learn more about the department connection as well. It's a pretty cool concept. So we're going to have Austin get started with software factories. So multi-agent workflows and loops was by far the #1 thing that people wanted to learn about. So this will be pretty exciting. And for the live stream, I'm just going to show you that yes, we do have a full house. So right now there's approximately 180 people like watching this presentation. So no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Is this you right here? Yeah. So hello everyone. My name is Austin. I'm the lead AI engineer at Actual AI here in Seattle. We are a software company that analyzes code bases to produce architecture context records for coding agents. We help make your we help make your coding agents work more efficient and effectively with your code base using architecture records we generate for you. Now that is not what I am presenting today, but just to give you an idea of where I come from. Today, I'm going to be talking about software factories. So at our company, we use software factories to establish a shared configuration that all developers on the team use for their coding agents. So we elevate developers so that we get out of the individual isolated agent configs that everyone has separately. And we have the entire team contributing to a shared software factory layer that lives on top of Claude Code instead of inside it. Now, the advantage of this is that you can still bring all of your skills and tools that are built into your Claude Code, but you just add this extra orchestration layer on top. And now you have capabilities that the entire team can leverage for all of your workflows together. And so for the demo today, I'm going to show you a quick example of a software factory working in practice with several agents working through a given workflow. And I'm going to walk through the steps of how you actually install and set up this software factory. And so I'm going to skip ahead just to the code base. This is where all the instructions live. And so starting from the top, at Actual AI, we use an open source orchestration framework called Gas City. Now, Gas City is a tool, as I said, that allows you to layer on top of existing CLI coding agent tools like Claude Code, as well as Codex, Gemini CLI, and others. And it gives you a level of primitives that allows you to configure the prompts that you give to your agents, deterministic and durable workflows, as well as scheduled and triggerable orders and executions that the factory will perform automatically based on how you configure it. And so these are easy modular configs that anyone on the team can use, adapt, improve, and share with others. And so for the demo today, I'm going to be walking through a specific basic software factory setup that we have implemented here for this demo. This software factory includes several agents that go through a typical software development lifecycle. So we start with an initial task, go through a planning phase with a planning agent who writes the acceptance criteria for this task. They pass it to a builder agent that writes the implementation of that task. And then after that, we have a series of agents. We have an architecture agent and then a reviewer agent that review the output of that piece of work to determine if it meets certain quality gates and decides whether to proceed with that task or bring it back to a previous agent and a previous state of the factory so that they can go through a second design round. Now, for installation steps, I'm just going to explain these steps to get the software factory working, and then I'm going to show a quick video that's about 5 minutes walking through the steps live. But just to give you a quick overview of what this looks like, you install a few dependencies, including Gas City, and this project assumes that you also have GitHub commands installed locally as well. You check the versions, you fork the repo and download it locally. And then you run a command called gc init factory. So what this does is it initializes your local factory with a baseline set of configurations that are very minimal based on what Gas City provides out of the box. And you decide which provider you want to use. Claude Code is a specific option. And then it implements a series of files in TOML that configure the baseline of your factory. Then from there, you can run the factory and see some information about the status and configuration you already have set for that factory. And then you install the packs. So packs are the module of configurations that Gas City implements for factories. So this pack can include all of the different things that I just mentioned about software factories, a set of agents, a set of orders, a set of workflows and prompts and templates. And all of those can be encapsulated in a pack that can be shared with other people in just a couple commands. So in this case, this repo has all of the information for this software factory in a single factory pack here. And then from there, all you have to do is run a few commands, as I said, to add the rig and then add that factory pack to that rig. A rig is the environment and the repo workspace that a factory set of agents can work in. A single factory may have several workspaces and therefore several, quote, rigs that the agents work in. In this case, for the base demo, we just have a single rig that we will be working off of with that standard pack of the software factory configuration. And then once we have all of that, we can walk through a few steps to show off what that pack includes. And then we seed a set of tasks using a task management tool called Beads. Beads is a CLI task management tool that is native to agents. Agents love Beads and know how to use Beads implicitly because of the way the CLI is designed. And it's designed so that agents can operate on tasks in different states within the factory. And I can go into more detail once we go through the steps of setup. But just so you know, that's how the tasks are managed within the factory and the states of tasks. And then the last thing we will do is just send a task to the factory. So we determine which task we want to pick up, and then we send it to that factory rig so the agents can start with implementation. So I'm just going to play this video, and I'm going to do this on fast speed. So as I said, the first step is to install the dependencies and check that the factory has the correct configurations. And then from there, you run the initial setup. So you determine which template you want to work off of, which coding agents you want to start with. Now, the factory starts with this initial config, but you are able to use multiple coding agents in parallel. And so your factory could have Gemini, Claude, and others all working within the same workflows. And so you're not relegated to a single coding agent. And then from there, as I said, we're just running a few commands to see what the factory looks like. You can see with that initial setup, it's very basic. You have a small set of dogs, a single persistent session agents, and then some basic information about the health of the factory. And then as we build up the factory over time, that configuration will grow. GC also comes with a number of built-in tools to help understand the health of your factory. So you can run something called GC Doctor, which gives you a number of heuristics about the health of your factory and where you need to perform additional maintenance to ensure that it's operating effectively. And then from there, we just go into the factory, and then we run some of those additional commands that I mentioned. So setting up the rig or the workspace for that factory. Give that a second to run, adding the pack to that rig so that that workspace has the specific configurations you're looking for that piece of the software factory. And then you can see that right here, this is a command GC formula list. So as I said, we have workflows that have a set of steps which can have dependencies within that workflow. Think of it like a recipe for creating something. And so this workflow will have a number of steps related to it: planning step, architect step, design, build, review, and you can see the dependencies between those. I'm happy to show you what the formula for this factory looks like in a moment. once we get through this, but you can see that the template for Gas City also comes with a number of base formulas that you can test out yourself for different types of work that you may want the factory to pick up. And skipping ahead a bit, we're just going to see the feeds or the tasks being created for that factory. And so in this case, the factory demo repo that we have here just has a set of ASCII art tasks. So the factory by default will just implement a set of files that write out ASCII characters with some poems written into them. This is just for the sake of the demo, but the factory itself can be applied to many different types of software and non-technical tasks, depending on how you extend the configuration. And so once we have decided on which task we want to pick up, and for example, we'll start with ASCII a.md as the initial task. We will sling or implement or like send that task to the factory to implement. And then over time, we will see that the factory picks up different agents and enables them to begin working on this task. Just for a little bit of clarity, we have a manager agent, which is a persistent agent, but Gas City also supports configurations for ephemeral pools of agents. And so sometimes you may want to have an agent that has persistent memory and understands previous tasks it's worked on. That is a persistent agent. But you can also have ephemeral agents where it's similar to a sub-agent in Claude Code. You just spin it up for a specific task, inject a specific level of context, and then as soon as that task is complete, the agent closes its session. And so that is essentially what the planner agent is, as well as the rest of the agents after the manager within this factory. And so here I've opened up the session for the planner, and so you can actually see it operating in progress. I know it's a little hard to see for people in the room, but essentially you start with a prompt that is given to that agent based on the configuration you have set in the factory. In this case, the planner is given some information about its persona, how it operates, how it picks up work, how it passes on work, what its specific capabilities are. And then within this prompt, you can also provide the set of skills that that planner should use for the types of tasks it's given. And so once it has that, it automatically is given the information to understand how to find the task to work on. And so it will pick up the task accordingly and then pursue implementation or planning or design, whatever that agent is built for. And then as soon as the agent completes its work, I just saw it briefly in the prompt at the bottom there, but you have a specific execution that it runs as part of the Gas City runtime to close out that session and proceed on to the next step for that workflow. And then just jumping to the conclusion, once you have the factory that has implemented those tasks, you can see the outputs, in this case, as PRs that go into your repo that implement those specific ASCII art files. And so this one, we have an example where it produced an a.md file with a poem at the bottom, and then we have one for B, C, D, and E as well. Now, to give you a bit more context about how we use software factories at Actual AI, we have the Gas City layer, orchestration layer, but it's heavily beefed up from what we saw in that demo. So in this case, we have a number of agents that look similar on the surface to what is provided in that demo repo, but they have much more expensive configurations. And so over time, as we have identified failure modes and missing capabilities for the factory, we have extended this and added as much as we can to the definitions of those agents and those workflows. And so at this point, our factory has enough information and context about how our company develops software to be able to develop features the way that we expect. And whenever we see a failure, the first thing that someone on our team will do is open a PR to improve that configuration. And then as a team, we can decide how to structure the factory. And then because it's in that composable, shareable form, everyone else on the team, as soon as it's merged, is able to instantly pull down that config and then use it for their own workflows that same day. And so just to give you a little more about the factory configuration that we have set here, as I mentioned, we have the factory pack, and so you can see that we have specific definitions for all the agents, prompts live with this pack just like this. It tells you how to perform work and what that role is. You have the formulas for the workflow, which is the durable instruction for specific tasks. And so in this case, you have a description at the top, you have some information about the setup and the rig, and then you have the step definitions as toggle. And so you can see identification for that step, what it does, how it operates, and then you also have the ability to prescribe dependencies for those tasks for previous steps that need to be implemented before that task can be picked up. This is how you're able to produce very complex workflows that have many agents working in parallel and implementing different steps of that task. And so you can see ADR check, review, and then finally publish once that task has been closed out. Now, just a couple other quick things that I'll go through. When you're looking at tasks, you have the beat substrate, as I mentioned, which is how you can define the tasks for that factory. In this case, you just run a single command, gcpd ready, to see all of the tasks that the factory has in its queue. And similar to the skills that we've seen, you can have the factory pick up tasks depending on what it believes is the priority for it to pick up. And then once it has those, somewhere down here, I have an example. So E has similar information that you would expect as far as tasks go. So you have the description, title, dependency, and then notes. And so this demo factory, you have a simple definition at the top. So in this case, implement e.md, type task, updated today, and then you have notes that each stage of the factory adds to that task so that further steps in the factory have that same context when it picks up its section of, or its stage of that task. And so you can see that we have the planner that implemented some acceptance criteria for the file. We have addendums that have been added by other agents. We have criteria for validations that the architect performs. If I can find those. Yeah, somewhere in here, you can see that, yeah, here we have the precedent not gate. If the agent has a gate for quality or a gate for some criteria for when it wants to pass onward to the next step, it will often add notes to that beat so that the next agent knows that it passed, or if it sends work back to an older stage of the factory, it'll add that note so that the agents in the older stage know what went wrong and why it did not pass that gate in the first place. And then you can see that, as you go through, you have extensive rounds to ensure the quality of the output of what you produce. And then one more note that I'll add, Gas City has recently shipped a new dashboard so that you can actually see the factory running in action. So this gives you the ability to see all of the agents that are available on your factory, the set of beads that factory has queued up and what state each of those beads are in. You can see mail that goes between the different agents, and then a general history of activity for that factory. And so all of this together is just giving you the tools so that you can produce robust orchestrations and workflows that work across agents, across sections of your pipeline, and in a way that is transferable and shippable to everyone on your team, not just your own local machine. And I think one last plug is that if you are interested in learning more about software factories and diving deep into this topic, we are also hosting a workshop. It's a 2-day workshop hosted with the team that produced the Gas City framework. And so it's here in Seattle. You're welcome to sign up or check it out. And you can use the special code Claude Code Insider for 15% off. And if anyone has any questions about the work I just displayed here or the workshop that's coming up, feel free to come up to me after the event, and I'm happy to share more. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the topics where we cannot cover in 15 minutes. Like you could barely maybe cover in 2 days kind of thing. But hopefully it was a great overview. And again, it was one of the most requested things that we got from you all. So lastly, we'll have Caleb from right here, Pioneer Square Labs. If you want to introduce DSL before you go into your demo. Cool. And then stop sharing.
I'll start sharing. Yes.
Yes. Cool.
Just gonna clear my entire screen. Cool. Sweet. Thanks for coming, everybody. My name is Caleb. I'm an engineer here at Pioneer Square Labs. Pioneer Square Labs, we're an early stage venture fund, so we do pre-seed and seed investing. We also have a startup studio where we build our own ideas. So pretty unique compared to most funds. Almost everyone on our team is technical. My talk today is going to be a tool that you can see. It's very simple, but it's very useful. It's all around how to do true automated testing. Now, we've all kind of seen this issue. As you ship more code, it's really hard to make sure that things are working. Obviously, most of us have CIs and basic things. But a real challenge I run into is, all your tests pass, you push your code, and then the user or whoever tries it, it breaks. So I am going to talk about my automated testing system. It's going to use this thing called the browser use CLI. This is one of the most useful tools I think not enough people use. The Claude and Chrome integration is pretty poor. This is a native tool for Claude and for Codex to use the browser. You can use your existing credentials. So if you're logged into Google Auth or anything, you can get through that. This is really helped me ship way more code and be confident it works. So we have a repo here, and it's going to have a skill that I use for QA. I'm going to share with you all, and hopefully it'll be useful. So, dive into slides, kind of like everything I talked about. This is on there if you want to look through it, but I think we'll just hop in the demo. So I have a super basic app right here. I'm not going to walk through, but the checkout's broken. So to test this app passed all the CI tests, all the integration tests. But if the user went and tried to buy something, it wouldn't work. So we're actually going to have this browser use CLI run right here. I'm going to say use the QA skill and test this app. It's going to go write a QA report, what was broken, and then it'll create a PR for that after. So I'm going to run it right now.
Make it any bigger.
Oh yeah, let me see. Let me just close this. Are you where? Oh yeah. Yep. So we have this QA sweep skill. It's going to find my browser. Cool. And this is and the real thing here is this is simulating like a real user clicking on your app. There is kind of no other way I've seen to truly test software other than testing end user experience. I think you can have smoke tests, you can have integration tests in your CI, but I think I would highly recommend if you're shipping software at any kind of scale and have any kind of user base, putting this into your CI can be super powerful. I have like a post hook on any commit before I run it. It'll go and test if there's UI changes. Yeah, so it's running. It's going to go and click through. You can see it has like this really great way of turning the browser elements, something that the Claude can understand. And it's super powerful. I think I've tried a ton of these. I tried browser based. I've tried like the native Claude Code integration. But the browser use team's done a tremendous job just making the browser usable for agents. So I highly recommend everyone go install and set it up. Cool. So it's running. Yep, we can see form filled, saving images. It also can do UI review, which is super useful. A lot of times, if you just need to say like, hey, like go do using the browser use skill, make a screen recording, or like take screenshots and do a UI review, and it'll just go test every single part of your app, figure out, go flag any visual elements that like need to be fixed, write a report, and then you can really feed that back into Codex or Claude Code and have it go make those fixes. You can see right here, it's looking for that tote bag and it's checking out. This skill is super generic, so it's gonna go do a full tree of the app that you have, and then it's gonna go test it end to end. So yeah, it can do mobile. If you specify the skill is specified test mobile. For UI, you can do mobile and desktop breakpoints. So you can extend that to do tablet as well. I've noticed it's kind of unnecessary, so I can cut my time in third, but yeah. Yep, so it's found an issue in the sign up form already. It's going back to the abandoned cart. It's finding all these different errors.
Is there a way to watch it work?
It's really working right now. So it found an issue with sign up form, with the email like form there. It's trying to check out now. It found an issue with the card form. Looks like no name or shipping yet. So it's putting all this stuff into a QA report, and then you can feed this back. This will take a little bit of run. I think I'm on Opus. So on the GitHub repo though, you can see the full end-to-end result. Oh, okay. Yep.
It's a bit of an aside, but the codecs in browser use now, since the last like 2 weeks of updates, it's actually really cool to watch the browser
Yes.
while it's happening. So I don't know whoever asked that, like, can you see it? If you do want to see one that has a great in-browser test use,
Yeah.
codecs shows you now like the agent actually working in a way that's not painful to watch.
Yeah, and I would say so. I actually have tried Codex browser use quite a bit. It still lacks actually the ability to read network logs. So what can be super useful here is like if you're having errors, like the browser use CLI will go and it will intercept the network logs and it can debug things that way. That has been super useful because it's writing the report right here. So it found a bunch of these issues, but even the native Claude Code browser use, I've still found that they lack some of these more developer tools. They're kind of built for more general purpose users. The browser use CLI is built for developers. Yeah, so cool. Here's the QA report. It went and tested their app like a user. We had an issue with the card never clearing, no shipping address, and the sign up had no, let's say there's no verification there. It wasn't an email form. And then the order number was hard coded. So all these issues were found automatically simulating a user. Yeah.
So just to be clear, with this particular version of CLI, there is no way to see it in browser.
I think there is actually with the browser use. If you look at the docs, sometimes it will open like a managed thing. It'll kind of click. It will, if you what I do actually is I'll just say like take screenshots as you go, and it'll just save it to an artifacts folder, and I'll just kind of browse through there. I personally have Bloodies running in the background, so wouldn't want to watch them all. So it's had a lot of like 4 or 5 instances of Chrome going, and like I just couldn't watch them all like at the same time. Yeah. Yep.
Have you encountered a mobile use CLI that is like that's also
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, so for ADB and Android, there's a lot of great tooling. I think Expo's got some good stuff too in their CLI. Unfortunately for Xcode, like they decided not to make it agent first, so it's still pretty painful. I think there are some decent NCP servers, but I think if you use the Expo toolchain, they have some stuff that can make this work. So yeah. Cool. Any more questions or let's? Yep. So if you go to the Pioneer Square Labs GitHub, find us on GitHub. There's a repo called CC Tech Week Talk. We have the skill, we have this whole project, and then we have like pretty much everything I talked about, and we even have the slide deck too that I decided not to go through. But yeah.
Yeah, it's also on the course website.
Yep.
That everyone signed into as well.
How long does it take for you to build it still? And how many users?
I've been the only one using this. I have been working on this skill like on my own, just like through testing, maybe for like the last like 2 months or so. Any project we do, anything I work on, literally after I write code, I'm like, hey, go test it. And there's a bunch of things like I've noticed, like if you prompt this browser CLI a certain way, it can do it quicker. So I've been working on this for about 2 months. So hopefully all you will use it now, and I'll have more users. This was definitely something that I don't hope to monetize. I just hope that it can be useful for you all. So yeah. Yep.
Hey, I'm Stan. I work for OpenAI. How do we convince you to use Codex?
I actually, I mean, I know it's a Claude event, but I would say I use Codex for 70% of my coding now. So I hopefully there's no one philanthropic here to come and put me in a chokehold or something. But I actually use Codex as my main driver now. So you guys, and I was a huge Claude Code person. So anyway, yeah.
All right. Any other questions for the other presenters? Okay. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay. So with that, thank you all for coming, and for those on the live stream as well. I want to announce our next Claude events. So we're doing a summer ice cream social on Friday, August 21st from 3 to 5 p.m. at AI House. It's on my Luma calendar right there, so go register. I literally just put it live, and I don't know, maybe we'll get 800 people signing up for that as well. I don't know. It'll be a lot of ice cream. But you know, this is a picture of the balcony at AI House. So for people who haven't been there, great space. It will be amazing. In August, we'll have drinks, root beer floats, and again, try to get Molly Moon's ice cream as well. So thank you all for coming out here. Thank you to everyone on the live stream. First time that we've tried this kind of concept of adding beginner and advanced at the time and doing a last minute live stream because demand was so high. So thanks for your patience, and thanks for our presenters for providing us all the tips. And yeah, stick around. I think, what time? You guys?
Till noon.
Till noon. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's another event coming in because it's Tech Week, right? So there's always stuff coming on. So stick around till noon, network, have conversations, finish the food. And thank you all for coming.